Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Verses and Paragraphs. I was just beginning to bemoan. I say, is MTN not going to come on? I mean, that's what they did to me yesterday while I was at the Lagos State Tourism Summit. But it's today now, thank goodness. Well, I'm not in a covered place. Hi, Bridget, Ese, Wisheshe, and Angel and Daffy. It's so good. Thank you for joining our live broadcast. And you are joining all the way from Mesquite in Dallas, Texas. Glad to have you on our show today. I was just trying to bemoan the fact that yesterday when I was trying to transmit all the way from inside the Eco Hotels and Suites, MTN conked out on me and I had to go and do it outside. But not to worry, we're here today. Today I want to be talking about writing. You know, Verses and Paragraphs is all about writing. It's all about grammar, language, everything that has to do with arts, creative arts, poetry, prose, and what have you. Oluwafunto, it's good to have you. Thank you for joining our live broadcast all the way from France. And there I see Temitope Ojo Laplace joining our live broadcast all the way from Abuja. Thank you for joining our live broadcast. Today I will be talking about writing. Hello, Oluwafunto. Thank you so much for joining today. Yesterday I was trying to transmit from the Lagos State Tourism Summit and it was bad. Like, thank you so much. Ça va? Bien merci. Et vous? Did I get that? Bien merci. Et vous? Did I get that? Oluwafunto is joining our live broadcast all the way from France. I don't know what particular place in France, but she's joining us from France. And she's speaking French to me. She says, ça va? Bien merci. Et vous? I remember that one from secondary school. Now, today I want to be talking about writing. Many people want to write. I know my sister, for one, she says, oh, I want to write. She's always saying, I'm going to write, I'm going to write, I'm going to write. But she never gets around to writing. And then I met someone last week. And when I told her I was a writer, she said, oh, she's also a writer. What have you written? She said, no, everything is in her mind. Now, instead of everything being in your mind, here are some tips that will help you to write, because I know there is a writer deep inside everyone listening, and anyone. There is a writer. And of course, beyond that, you do need to do writings at every point in your time, as long as you're in primary, secondary, university, even at work, you have to do writing. But the kind of writing I'm talking about is writing that everybody can read. You could be writing for publishing, you could be writing for poetry or prose. Now, let's talk about some things that you need to consider when you want to write. Okay, bien. Oluwafunto has responded to my French greeting. She says, oui, merci. Now, one of the smart tips for brilliant writing, make sure you have something to say. Have something to say. And when you have something to say, it makes it easier for you to write, because you already have something. Almost everybody has something they want to say or they want to tell others. So, one of the smart tips for brilliant writing is make sure you have something to say. And then it makes you, when you start writing, your writing becomes easier and faster because you have something to say. Watera Cargo, quite an age. Watching, I guess, from Lagos. Thank you for joining our live broadcast. Today I am talking about smart tips for brilliant writing. And one of the first things I said is that make sure you have something to say. When you want to write, for instance, you want to publish a book, or you want to write a poem, or you want to write prose, anything, make sure you have something to say, because it makes your writing easier and faster. Because when you have nothing to say, you are forced to write sentences that sound meaningful, but they deliver nothing. You are writing and nothing is happening. Detola Akinremi, thank you so much for watching. My big brother, Professor Alex Ifamata, is watching from Asaba. Thank you everyone for joining our live broadcast. I'm talking about smart tips for brilliant writing. And the very first thing is make sure you have something to say. Because when you have something to say, it makes your writing easier and faster. When you have nothing to say, you are just writing sentences. They sound meaningful, but they deliver nothing. And then read widely. When you read widely, you acquire more knowledge. Take notes, choose your subjects wisely, then share your information with your readers. But make sure you have something to say. When you read widely, when you read up widely, something must occur to you that you wish, oh, I feel like writing about this one, or I feel like sharing this with people, and then you start writing. Then be specific. I'll give you an example. You say, I grow lots of flowers in my backyard. And then you now say, you just say, I grow lots of flowers in my backyard. It sounds meaningful, but it delivers nothing. But if you say, I grow 34 varieties of flowers in my backyard, including pink coneflowers, yellow roses, white hibiscuses, Shasta daisies, and rainbow forest, then whoever is listening to you begins to have a mental picture of what you have in your backyard. So be specific. So we said two things now. One, have something to say. Two, be specific. Then the third one, choose simple words. I've always learned that one from university. By lecturer Pangwaba of blessed memory, always used to tell us, use simple words, simple words, because when you use simple words, it's easier. So instead of using utilize, why don't you write use? Near instead of close proximity. Help instead of facilitate. Start instead of commence. Master C. Ezekiel, oh, that's my friend from in Abuja. Thank you for joining our live broadcast. Today I'm talking about smart tips for brilliant writing. I know you are a singer, a musician, of course you write your songs. So some of these are some of the tips. Be specific about what you want to write. Choose simple words. In those days, my younger brother Ruke, it was from him I learned this when he said purloin, and I wondered what purloin, even with my 2 degrees in English, I didn't know what purloin meant, and purloin actually means to steal. But instead of using big words because you want to show off that you have acquired some vocabulary and added it to your personal lexicon, just use the simplest words. So instead of saying, say use. Then write short sentences. Sweet. You should keep sentences short. For same reason you keep paragraphs short. They are easier to read and understand. Each sentence should have one simple thought. More than that causes complexity and invites confusion. So your sentences should be short. I think Nigerians, we love flowery language. And some of us want to display that, oh, I've acquired, I've read far and wide, and they think that by displaying flowery language, then it means that they are well educated, or I don't know what you want to say. However, use short sentences. I know when we speak, we also use long sentences, but when you are writing, make use of short sentences. It will be easier to read, and that's what I learned from my lecturer. My hanky, where's my hanky? Say my hanky, I have my hanky, but you see, when I dab my face, knows that of course I have my hanky, and the fan is on. Actually, the fan is. I don't know why I'm sweating, because the fan is on, as you can see. It is oscillating. Elizabeth, should I use the word oscillate, or what is a simpler word for oscillate? The fan is oscillating. What's a simpler word? Elizabeth Joe, watching from Kaduna or Abuja, one of the two. Can you give me a simple word, a simpler word for the fan is oscillating? Then, when you are writing, use the active voice. In writing and using the active voice, you have the subject, the verb, and the object. I'll give you an example. Danny ate 6 eggs for breakfast. So we have, that is active voice. Danny is the subject, ate is the verb, for breakfast is the object. So Danny ate 6 eggs for breakfast. That is writing in the active voice. Now if you want to use the passive voice, you say, breakfast, 6 eggs were eaten by Danny. Even listening to it, it sounds boring. So when you're writing, try to make use of the active voice, where you have the subject first, the verb, and then the object. The passive voice, you have the object first, the verb, and then the subject, but it sounds very, very boring. Faith Chukudi, thank you so much for joining our live broadcast. I know you are watching all the way from Abuja. It is good to have you on our show. Thank you for joining. Today we're talking about tips for brilliant writing. And I'm talking about when you're writing, use the active voice. You don't go straight away. You have subject, verb, and object. An example, I'll give another example. I will clean the house every Saturday. I will, that's the subject. Clean is the verb. Clean the house every Saturday, that is the object. Now, listen to this same sentence. Okay, Oluwafunta says another word for the fan is something is the fan is rolling. Yes, it is actually rolling. It is rolling from one side to the other side, and it's blowing fresh air, which is not very cool because I'm sweating. So now we're still talking about the active voice and the passive voice, and I'm giving you examples. Now, for the active voice, you have the subject, verb, and then object. And the example I gave, I will clean the house every Saturday. So here you have the subject, I will. Clean is the verb, every Saturday is the object. On the other hand, the passive voice will be, the house will be cleaned by me every Saturday. The house will be cleaned by me every Saturday. Don't you see how boring it is? Passive voice, so use the passive voice when you are writing. You can't always use the active voice, but most writers should use it most often. And when you are speaking, you make use of the active voice. For writing, it's best to make use of the active voice. I think our MTN again is trying to hold my network. I'm looking, I don't know, this MTN, like when you have your DSTV about to rain, the network is ceasing. I'm looking outside at the weather. The weather is beginning to look cloudy. I don't know whether that's why MTN is freezing my network, but I hope you are able to see from wherever you're watching. So we have now talked about using the active voice when writing. It is punchier, it is punch. So 5 different tips for brilliant writing. Then 6, keep your paragraphs short, just like your sentences for paragraphs short. Take newspapers, notice the short paragraphs. Newspapers, paragraphs are short. This is done to make reading easier. Painstaking information, it is broken. You know, when you're talking to someone, I can notice from my phone here that the frame is freezing. And my sister Elohor joins us all the way from Edinburgh in Scotland. Elohor, I started at the beginning by saying that you have always said you want to write. So I thought about you and said, let's talk about writing. Maybe it will encourage Elohor to start writing. So just for you, I'll do a quick recap because I know you're a very busy woman, so I'll just do a quick recap. I want to also benefit people who are just joining us too. Those tips for brilliant writing. 1, make sure you have something to say. Don't just write. Make sure you have something to say. Read widely and make sure you have something to say. You want to tell people. Then be specific. I grow lots of flowers in my backyard. Yes, so once I grow 34 varieties of flowers in my backyard, including flowers, pansies, including roses and whatever, then your readers have a mental picture of what your backyard looks like. So be specific when you're writing. And then just simple words. Hello, I don't know how you love fancy words like your brother Ruka likes fancy words. Ruka likes fancy words. So use simple words when you're writing. Instead of utilize, write use. Instead of close proximity, say near. Instead of facilitate, say help. And then I said write short sentences. Sadia Tigile, thank you so much for joining our live broadcast from Abuja. Today we are talking smart tips for brilliant writing. Many people love they want to write. The people who have written, they don't have 10 heads. They're like you and don't know which is the correct one yet, but we're all the same. So, but people who have written have just started writing, started doing it. They didn't just have it in their minds or in their brains. They started writing, which is what you should do if you really have a desire to write. But remember, you have to have something to say. Write short sentences and then use the active voice. In using the active voice, the subject should come first, your verb and your object. And I gave an example. Danny ate 6 eggs for breakfast. Danny is the subject, the verb is 8 eggs, and breakfast is the object. If you're using the active voice, it would be at breakfast 6 eggs were eaten by Danny. Beyond the fact that it is too long, it is when you use the active voice when writing, it's punchier. And most writers use the active voice. Then now we're talking about keeping paragraphs short. If you look at the newspaper, you will notice that there are short paragraphs, short paragraphs. You see, our brains are designed to take in information when it is broken into smaller chunks. And beyond that, it makes reading easier. So when you're writing small sentences, not small sentences, short sentences and short paragraphs. In academic writing, each paragraph develops one idea and often includes many sentences. A paragraph actually has a topic sentence, which usually contains the idea. Then it has 3 supporting sentences and a concluding one. A paragraph should basically be between 7 to 10 sentences long. It shouldn't be longer than 10 sentences because by then it becomes too long. And then in casual everyday writing, the style is less formal and paragraphs may be as short as a simple sentence or even a single word. And I'm sure there are some writers who have used that as their style. A single sentence is a paragraph, or a single word is just a style of writing. Then eliminate fluff words. Qualifying words such as little, very, rather add nothing to meaning and suck the life out of your sentences. Those are, when you are speaking, those words are what we call crutch words. When you use them too often, they become annoying, irritating, and meaningless. And in writing, they just suck out the meaning from the words. I read a sentence which contains some of these qualifying words, which really do not lend to your sentence. Here's the sentence. It is very important to basically avoid fluff words because they are rather empty and sometimes a little distracting. So these fluff words, you don't really need them. They just suck out the meaning. Just go straight to your point. Because you use them when you are speaking does not mean that when you are writing, because most of us use lots of those crutch words. We talked about crutch words. We talked about crutch words like twice on this program, and I'm sure I'll come back to crutch words again because there are things that we always do every day. I tell you something. You know, the other day we're talking about standard Nigerian English and some of the expressions that have crept into our lexicon, and one of them was cross-carpeting. And of course, there is no such word as cross-carpeting. What the word is crossing the floor. Yesterday, one of my friends said, my daughter wants to cross carpet, and I laughed to myself. I say, if I should agree with you, hey, let me. But this just to say that these are words that have crept into our Nigerian English, which gives it its unique flavor and which makes it called the standard Nigerian English. For all of you listening, there is a standard Nigerian English and it is a dialect of British English. We've talked about it twice, talked about it last Friday, talked about it yesterday. Maybe in future we'll talk about it again. Anyway, we are back to our brilliant tips for writing. Don't ramble. Don't just start talking. Don't ramble. And then don't be redundant or repeat yourself. Repeating yourself means saying the same thing but using different ways. Don't repeat yourself. And then don't overwrite. Don't overwrite. This is a symptom of having too little to say or too much ego. So, I'm a writer. And maybe the only way they will know that I'm a writer is by the plenty words or the plenty sentences or the plenty material that I write. Put your reader first. Put yourself in the background and focus on the message. Yes, you are writing because you want people to maybe, but put the reader first. When you are writing, like when I write, I write for children. And people wonder why I love watching cartoons or children's programs. I watch it because I watch them because I want to know the thinking of children. I want to know how they talk. I want to know what they like. And of course, children are my friends. Most of my friends, I have lots of friends who are children. So when I listen to the way children talk and write, my book that is going to come out by God's grace in July, when you read my book, in fact, people who have read it, you think it's easy to understand because I write the way children would speak. I write the way children would think. So when you are writing, whoever or whatever your audience is, put the reader first, put yourself in the background, and then focus on the message. Then, finally, edit ruthlessly. Shorten, delete, and rewrite anything that does not add to the meaning. Because when you're writing, there's a temptation, you keep on writing. But when you're finished writing, set it aside for a few hours or a few days, then return to your text fresh and edit. It's okay to write in a casual style, but don't inject extra words without good reason. If you're going to put in extra words when you're writing, there has to be a very good reason for injecting extra words. So that is those are about some of the tips I have given. Beyond that, read widely. And aside from reading widely, you have to have a dictionary. If you do not have a physical dictionary, you can have an online dictionary. You can subscribe to some of these dictionaries online because they're very good, they're very helpful for you if you want to write. If you want to be a speaker and you have to be writing speeches, you also would do good to get yourself a dictionary or look for some of these online dictionaries or online apps which help you with words. Having said that, I'd like to give you a quotable quote that will inspire you to write. A quotable quote which inspires you to write. It says, writing comes from reading, and reading is the finest teacher of how to write. Now, for my sister Eloho, who wants to write, I know she reads a lot. Well, it depends on what she's reading. I don't know whether what she's reading is for the audience she wants to write for. But for whatever audience you want to write for, you have to read a lot. You have to read widely, read what other people have written. I know that what you are going to say will also become a blockbuster, but heck, you need to read what others have written, and they will also help you, and then you're able to combine styles. Now, this quotable quote was written by Annie Proulx. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but she's an American novelist and a short story writer and a journalist. And she says a quotable quote from women on inspiring you how to read. Now, all that said and done, I cannot leave you without telling you our word for the day. Our word for the day is an adjective, and it is purse proud. Purse proud. I'll show you the word before I tell you the meaning of the word. I have the word here, purse proud. P-U-R-S-P-R-O-U-D. Let's see. Okay, purse proud. Do you guess what I'm going to talk about? Purse proud. Now, if someone is purse proud, the person is proud of their wealth. And not only are they proud of their wealth in an arrogant or showy manner. I know that many proud people we have in Nigeria, and some of them are purse proud, but I know of one who is not purse proud. He has so much money. He can buy over the whole of Nigeria if he wants to. I do not need to tell you who he is, but he most definitely is not purse proud. So a purse proud person is one who is proud of his or her wealth, especially in an arrogant or showy manner. Those people who go and then there's a way at parties when they spray dollars or they spray mint, and the way they show it off, yes, I have money, they are purse proud. So purse proud is showing off your wealth in a proud and arrogant, or in an arrogant and showy manner. So, like a good teacher, I would just like to recap, because we've already done this, and I haven't seen anybody say anything, but I want to believe that people have understood, or that you are going to take away something from my tips I have given you on brilliant writing. So I'll just read through what I said earlier on about what you should do if you want to start to write. So first, you have something to say. Make sure you have something to say so that when you're writing, you do not ramble. Then be specific about what you want to say. If you want to describe something, if you're specific, it makes your readers have a mental picture of what you want to talk about. You won't just say the man jumped over the bridge. You can say the man, he got to the bridge, he saw that the bridge was like how many meters long. Not only was it so long, there were nails on the bridge, but then he ran back and then took a flying leap, and he leaped over to the other side. Thompson Ivory, Thermopolis, it is good to have you. Thank you for joining our live broadcast today. I'm about rounding up. I'm talking about brilliant tips for smart tips for brilliant writing. And one of the very first things I have said is that you have something to say. Be specific about what you're saying. And when you're specific about what you're saying, your readers will have a mental picture of what you're talking about. Don't just say, I went into the shop and bought a packet of sugar, because not just a packet of sugar. When I got into the shop was filled to overflowing. There were different kinds of sugar, and I had to look carefully. There was brown sugar, there was white sugar, there was cane sugar, but eventually I found the sugar I wanted. When you're specific, then your readers have a mental picture of what you want to say. Choose simple words. Choose simple words. The more flowery your language does not mean you are more educated. It just means you're wasting people's time. Don't be bombastic. Bombastic is a flowery word. Then write short sentences. Short is sweet. They are easier to read and understand. And each sentence should have one simple thought. More than that creates complexity and invites confusion. Then use the active voice. In using the active voice, you have the subject first, verb and object. Instead of you should say, Danny ate 6 eggs for breakfast. Instead of saying at breakfast 6 eggs were eaten by Danny. That's a passive voice, and usually it's not good to write in the passive voice. It is a bit boring and it drags. Then also keep your paragraph short. Our brains were designed in such a way to process information better in smaller chunks. Besides, they are easier. It makes reading easier. Then eliminate fluff words. Qualifying words which do not add any meaning, eliminate them. Don't ramble. Don't be redundant or repeat yourself. Don't overwrite. And finally, edit ruthlessly. When you're finished writing, you keep what you have written for a few days or a few hours, then go back again, have a second read, and then cut out all the things that you do not need. Above all, read widely. Beyond reading widely, make sure you have a dictionary or some dictionary tools that are easy to get these days on Google. Yeah, Google. Go on the internet. And then my quotable quote for today was, writing comes from reading, and reading is the finest teacher of how to write. Our word for the day is purse proud. And the purse proud person is one who is proud of his or her wealth, especially in an arrogant and showy manner. Thank you everybody for joining this live broadcast today. If you came in while we had started and you would like to watch it from the top, it will be on Facebook. Beyond that, you could go to my YouTube channel. You type my name, Rumena Amata, and it will come up. I'd like to thank everyone for joining our live broadcast today. Those of you watching from France, my friends Angel and Daffy, and their aunt, mother Bridget Esemusheshe, watching all the way from Mesquite in Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much for joining the show. My brother watching from Asaba. My sister-in-law watching from Edinburgh. Tom Ivory from Lagos. Tokpe Ojo watching from Abuja. I'm trying to remember the names because the names have all gone. But Sajat watching. Elizabeth Joe watching from Kaduna. Let me see if I can scroll it down to, I want to say Faith Chukudi, thank you for joining. Master C Ezekiel, also from Abuja, thank you for joining. My brother already said thank you to my brother. Detola Akinremi Watera Cargo. Let me see again. Thank everybody for joining this live broadcast today. Yes, thank you so much. And so I'd like to use the French, because Oluwafunto, I can say goodbye in English and then au revoir Is it a bientôt? I'll say, oh, demain. Till tomorrow. Anyway, whatever I say. So we'll see again next time, tomorrow, by God's grace, at the same time, for another interesting piece on verses and paragraphs and everything in between. Thank you. Bye-bye.